Hello and welcome back to the boatyard where I keep my project boat Twiggy. The UK has, the last 4-5 weeks seemingly, had nothing but a heat wave. Temperatures well over 30 degrees Celsius, that's into the 90s Fahrenheit. That is not good weather either for me or for fiberglassing. It's too hot. And before that, it was too cold. And before that, it was too hot again. And so on and so forth. Randomly, this weekend, today and tomorrow, temperatures are at the 23-24 Celsius mark, which is still a little bit toasty. It's mid-70s Fahrenheit, but all the same, pretty good. So I've come down the boat to finally get that fourth layer of fiberglass on the back of the transom and do a little bit of tidying up and adding some filler and smoothing it all off, things like that. It seems as though everybody else in the world has had the same idea, because as you can probably hear, there's some grinding or washing, or I don't know what's going on in the yard, and the number of vehicles here, I pretty much almost can't get to my own boat because everybody has descended on the yard. However, I have managed just about to unpack stuff. I've parked in somebody's way, so in the middle of fiberglassing they may come and tell me to move. Who knows what excitement is going to unfold. But the plan for this video is mix up some more resin, stick the final bit of fiberglass on the back, stick some chopped strand mat round the corners to smooth them off a bit, and possibly even get some gel coat over the back of it, depending on how well I'm able to filler it and smooth it off and things like that. This fourth bit of fiberglass is actually smaller than the other ones because it doesn't really need to be as big, and I'm going to use that plus a bit of chopped strand mat which is down there under the mask. You see what we've got here on the corners, there was some original corner of boat onto which obviously I've wrapped all this other fiberglass, so it slightly bulges out now and then goes in a tiny bit. There's a little slope down here in towards the new transom, so I need to bulk that out a little bit. So I've cut a piece that is just the size of the transom, and that will lift that a tiny bit, and I think, I mean, it's already fairly unnoticeable, but you do know it's there if you run your hand over it. So I'll bulk that out a bit, put a bit of filler over it, and then on these corners I'm going to put the chopped strand mat, which will ease the transition from the new down to the old. I also the other day ground this out, didn't do this on camera, I just ground that out and back a bit so that I can put that new fiberglass on it, and hopefully we'll have a transition from old to new, and once I slap a bit of gel coat on, hopefully it'll look okay. I think I've said this before, but I'm well aware it's never going to look perfect. It's not going to look like it just came out the factory. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this, so I simply don't have the experience and the skills to make it look beautiful, and frankly I don't have the patience either, but as long as it looks okay, that's good enough for me. I also think that unlike those last pieces which I put on as one piece of fiberglass and it was quite tricky to do, this last one I will in fact cut in half. People said, why aren't you cutting it in half? And it was because I wanted to retain all the structure and stability of the full piece of fiberglass, but as this one's really more of a bit of filler, I think I'll just cut it up the middle and do it as two halves. That'll make it easier to apply. Step one is to sand the existing thing just to give it a bit of a key, then I'll wipe it down with some acetone, and then I'm ready to mix up the new resin and stick the new things on. So, mask on, obviously. Helps if you go back to the van and turn the power on. I've got new gloves, thicker, better gloves than the old ones which used to break all the time. I've ordered large and they're still jolly small. I don't know. Yeah, large. Anyway, they do feel better quality and they shouldn't rip as easily as the old ones. Right, acetone. Acetone. That's the front, that's the back. So that goes that way, doesn't it? That will go there. I had some people asking why I don't weigh out my resin instead of doing it in terms of litres and millilitres and things. And it's, well, because you see my hardener thing is calibrated in millilitres. And if you want to, let's say, have 500 millilitres of resin on a 2% mix, that's 10 mil of hardener, which is bugger all. It's going to weigh nothing. It's going to be very hard to weigh out 10 mil of hardener accurately, but I can, as in whatever that weighs, but I can easily measure out an exact 10 mil on this thing, which means I'm working in millilitres for the hardener, activator, whatever you call it, the MEKP. And if I'm working in millilitres for that, I might as well work in millilitres for the resin. And it's not that hard to work in thing, even without my mixing jug. I've marked on the inside of these cups where 500 mil of fluid is, so I can easily see what that looks like, and then I can guess half or I can guess a bit more, so that's fine. It's fine. There's not a huge amount in there. Of course, the tricky thing is how much do I actually need right now, and I need enough to wet that out, wet the back of that out and the other one, stick them on, and then shovel some more on top. So I'm inclined to say I might do 2 batches. And I think it's going to be more than that. In fact, I'll just start by tipping that in there and we'll see how much we've got. That is about 400 mil of resin. And of course, it's so long since I last did this, I can't remember how much that covers. Isn't it? It's something like a 2.5 to 1 ratio of resin to fiberglass. But then that is done by weight. But it's also very awkward weighing fiberglass because it's all big sheets of stuff and the weighing scales are so big. And I don't know how anyone ever does this. I know I say this every video, but however people do this, how are you supposed to weigh great big sheets of fiberglass without crunching them up? And then that puts folds in them and things. Right, there's a tiny bit more there. And well, let's not waste it. It's expensive stuff. That's almost exactly 500 mil. I bought some better stirry sticks. These are longer and thicker and much better. Right, that's deceased. I do think I'm going to want more than that. Now, I have got one more here. Have I got 1 or 2 more? Yep, I've got 2 more. I went overboard. I thought let's get 2 just in case. I think what I'll do is I'll have the other one standing by, but I won't put any catalyst in it, and then if I do need to put it back in the tin, I can do that. So here goes. Or maybe I will just measure it out when it comes to the crisis. Yeah, let's do that. Let's have it ready, but not do it. Right, okay. Let's put that there. Out the way. Am I ready to go? Because you don't want to start this and then suddenly realise you've forgotten something while the stuff is drying. We've done that. That's had time to dry off its acetone. Bit of hardener. 500 mil of that on a 2% mix. I just said it, didn't I? 10 mil of MEKP. Mixy, mixy, mix. Slap it all over the back of the boat, half at a time. If I'm going to do half at a time, I'll do half the back at a time. That way, yes, if that starts drying and I need more, it won't be over dried. All right, let's go for it. Let's just go for it. Carpe diem. 10 mil. Is that really 10 mil? That's a lot. Have I got this right? 10 mil for a 2% mix. It's quite warm. I'll go 1.5% mix. We'll go 7.5. Stick that back down there and mixy, mixy, mixy like a madman. I feel more confident these wider sticks are going to do a better job of mixing the resin and the hardener as well, because they'll give it more whoosh as they're going. The old tongue depressor sticks, which I was using before, it's just a bit thin and weedy. It's like trying to stir your resin with an ice lolly stick. This feels much more mixing. Yes. Of course, I say that now, having done all that with the old sticks, but
let's be generous with it. Right. Now, this is the back, isn't it? That's the front. Oh, that's that side. Right, I've cocked up. The piece I put the paste on is for that side. I'm going to have to do both at once. So I am going to have to mix some more fairly urgently. Don't you fall off, you bugger. I'll give it a little roll with the roller before I put some thing on it. Quickly, quickly, but without panicking. The other piece, we got that, that's the back, that's the front. Now we're not going to need so much this time, because we must do the whole, so I need about, let's go with about 300mm. Where's the mark? There's the mark.
I think I'm quite pleased with that. It's gone on. There are some little sticky out threads of fiberglass there always are, but I can sand those back. And on the edges here, you can see it's got little sticky out bits just where the fiberglass tears and then for some reason sticks up. Doesn't matter how much rollering I do, it always seems to stick up at the edges. But again, once that's set, I'll easily just take that off with the sander and an aggressive sanding disc. I don't think I'll use the grinder, or I'll go through the whole thing, of course. But that's fine. So now I need to get my chopped strand mat ready to put on round these edges. I've now cut 4 lengths of this chopped strand mat. It's quite light stuff, and I've torn it, as you can see, so the edges are all shredded and ripped and whatever, and not uniform neat edges. And that's the whole point, because when you wrap it round here, theory goes, I've seen this done, you wrap it round here and because it's all kind of shredded and not accurate, it makes a nice tidy transition from the new fiberglass to the old. And with any luck, that will be the case. I think I might just refine the heights a tiny bit, because that's going to stick off the bottom of the boat, but I'm pretty much ready to go, mix up some more resin and stick those on. I've trimmed these off a little bit so they're the right height. I've got 4 pieces. It's chopped strand mat, so it doesn't take as much resin as the biaxial stuff does. So I'm pondering how much to mix up. And I think I'll start with 250, so half one of these. On the other hand, I've got 4 pieces. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so it probably is about the same. Maybe I'll go for let's go for 400, which is quite hard to calculate, but we'll, by eyeballing it, but we'll go for that.
Right, we're going to need more resin, because I've got another piece to go on. And I've almost used that up. Right, and then I need to do the other side. So that 250, we're going to need another 500, I'd have thought, at least. What a good thing I bought lots of resin.
I have a feeling that I've come to the end of proceedings for today, because this isn't looking too bad, you know. Look how gradual that transition is from there to there. And yes, I know I've gone a little bit over the paintwork, but there's nothing here that a bit of sanding back isn't going to solve. Just sand that back a bit and smooth it into that, and it'll be fine. And then these have got a few little bits, little knobbles down here that need sanding out, but it'll need to have been fully cured before I can sand it, and that's not going to happen while I have my lunch. So I probably need to come back on another day, and I think that really is it for this schedule of works today. Yes, I really don't think there's anything else useful I can do until that has fully hardened. Then do the sanding back, then I can see where I need to add filler, and as soon as the filler has dried, where's this drying in there? You've got to wait for it. As soon as that has dried and hardened, then I can slap some gel coat over the top of it. Actually, since gel coat is just resin with pigment in it, I suppose I could add the filler, smooth it out to a degree, and then put the gel coat over the top. Although that might be a bit rough, so I probably do need to sand everything back down there with a really fine sandpaper before I stick the gel coat on top. Anyway, there is still a bit of a lip, I notice, which I don't think I'm going to get rid of unless I just add filler across the entire back of the thing. I'm not sure it really matters. There's a tiny little lip round the edge. I suppose if one was considering fluid dynamics of the way the water comes round the boat, if there's a tiny little indent, it'll create water swirls or some such. But really, this thing's going up rivers at 5 miles an hour. I don't think that's really going to matter. So yeah, let it set. Add in filler where filler is needed. Put some gel coat on. Ready to put the boat back in the water. No, I jest, of course. I still need to sand the entire boat, paint it, and then I can start on the flipping top superstructure, which has so much cracking in the gel coat you wouldn't believe. I'm going to have to sand all those out, re-gel coat, and then probably repaint the whole boat. Yes, still yellow. That is very much a future project. We picked the story up a week later on a very, very windy Sunday. It really is blowing quite strongly. It was blowing a gale last night, but it's mild today, 22 degrees Celsius, which is 72 Fahrenheit. It's perfect fiberglassing weather. I'm not going to do a lot today. I'm going to mix up filler and stick it over the back of the boat to fill in some of those little gaps, and then I will have to just go away and leave it to all harden, solidify, whatever the correct term is, for at least a week before I can then come back, sand it down nicely, and hopefully slap a coat of white gel coat over the top of it. So today, very simple, mix up some filler and stick it on the back. And I'm trying something different on the filler front. Previously I've used colloidal silica, which is powdery stuff, and it forms into clumps in the tin, and then it forms in clumps in the resin. It's kind of awkward stuff. So I saw recommended microcellular hollow fiberglass particles as glass bubbles. And this apparently is used to, here we go, add to resin as a filler reinforcement for easy to sand, I like the sound of that, lightweight filling. And it says it's formulated for high strength to weight ratio, making them an ideal filler. So we'll give this stuff a go, and hopefully it'll clump less than the colloidal silica did. And as I say, just slaps up some of that on the back, particularly in the little bit between the two sections of fiberglass I put on when I was last here. And just anywhere that kind of feels like it needs a bit of filling. And then that will be it for today, as I say, and I'll come back later and sand it all back. I think I shall start with a little wipe over with acetone to make sure everything's completely clean. Ready for some filler to be applied. So I'm going to be fillering around there, round there, round there, all round the bottom there, round there, bit round the top there, round there, all up round there. We'll need a bit of filler. Now to start with, I don't know how much resin I'm going to want. I'm going to want to fill, actually not so much here, this is quite a nice slope already, but there, this is a little bit stepped. So round the bottom here, a little bit round the top, bit here, bit down there, again just a little bit here. This is a very gentle slope, it doesn't really need any fillering. So not a lot is the answer. I've got a tiny bit that was left in the, this is going to go everywhere, the wind's going to blow it everywhere, isn't it? Tiny bit that was left in this, which I'll start by unloading into this. And I can't think I'll need more than, right, why won't you open? Come along. And before this cup blows away, which it's definitely thinking it wants to do, let's start this. Now, this is my last tin of vinyl ester resin, so this has got to do everything I need to do now, which it should be enough for, unless I cock something up and make a hole in the boat, which, you know, I am prone to do. I can imagine that when I get to sanding this back to make it look nice, I will stop myself from sanding it with the grinder, otherwise I will just go through. Right, where's that mark I made? Oh yes. I've got these specific smoothery out things for pushing the stuff on, which may be a bit excessive. I mean, any old thing would probably do, but I thought some proper little plastic scrapers might help. Right, that's deceased. Put that down there. What am I looking for? Hardener, and then add in some of this filler. Oh, and I should probably put the mask on instead of just having it on the table. That would help, wouldn't it? It would work better if I was actually breathing through it.
Now you see, that has not clumped like the colloidal silica did. It's just a powder. Nice and powdery. Ooh, yes. Glad I've got this mask on. Right, let's put some of that in. It's very fine. It's blowing away in the wind. Clearly going to need more. Oh, stop blowing away. Crying out loud. What? Why is it never the right conditions? I think before it gets too thick, I will add the hardener, then I'll add a bit more of the thickener, which I may need some more of, I realise suddenly. It's not doing a lot. I may end up putting the whole of this in. That's a bit alarming. Right, let's stick the hardener in. It's got a lovely green. Oh, stop blowing away! Wind. No, not that much. Oh, right, that has turned now to a paste. You obviously need a lot more of that than I thought. It's better than the colloidal silica, but it blows in the wind even more. Oh, it's still not thick enough, is it? It's actually not thick enough still. God, I think I need more thickener. Unbelievably. It's still too runny.
I am not a terribly happy bunny, and I realise that's my default state for any of this fiberglassing work. I mean, it's kind of gone on, but if it was too sloppy it wouldn't stick, and then once it was sticky it kept tearing as I tried to drag it with the thing. I think that's probably the neatest bit I've managed to do at the top there, but every time I dragged the scraper across it would take half the filler with it and leave little channels. And then down there, I mean, okay, it's going to be sanded, yes, I know that, and therefore it will come smoother. I'm slightly wondering whether, because of the texture of this fiberglass being very matty, which it is because it's fiberglass mat, which this has smoothed over. Maybe I should put a thin layer of the filler stuff over the whole thing to kind of smooth it out. And then when I sand, I'll be sanding that back rather than this actual fiberglass. But that would require mixing up a load more, and I definitely don't have enough resin or clearly enough of those glass beads to do that with me at the moment. And that needs to set anyway, and what I might do is let that set, give it a bit of a sand, and then see how it looks. Because let's not forget, when I paint the gel coat over the top, gel coat is just pigmented resin, as I keep telling myself, so that will act as a filler in its own right, to some extent. So yes, I'm not sure. Do I slap a thin coat of the filler over the top of the whole thing? Maybe I come back and do that over the what I've just done, and then over the whole thing, and that will then leave it ready for sanding. That means another day coming back. Will this never end, I wonder? Or do I just sand that back now, not now, but when it's hardened, and then put the gel coat over the top and see if it works? I don't know. Anyway, that's it for this session at the boat. I'm going home.